Mary, or Polly Milborn, was born on August 28, 1836, in Tennessee. She was the fifth of 7 children born to John and Margaret Robertson Milburn. When Polly was born, her father was 38 and her mother was 36. On the 1850 census, Polly was 13 years old and her family had moved to Dade County, Missouri. On the census, her parents were farming for a living. I did notice in the column that asked whether deaf and dumb, blind, insane, idiotic, pauper, or convict, her father, John, was marked down as being insane. When I looked up what defined someone as insane in 1850, it seems this meant the person was perceived as having some sort of mental or intellectual disability. But the term was also not well defined. An example, they found many elderly people were marked as insane when more than likely they had dementia. On December 22, 1854, when Polly was 18, she married 18-year-old Zachariah Sims. Polly and Zachariah would have 5 children together, 1 boy and 4 girls: Hannah Jane, Nancy Elizabeth, Mary Martha, Siegel Zachariah, and Rachel Clementine. Polly would have her children from the age of 19 to the age of 29. All 5 of Polly and Zachariah's children would live into adulthood, but 2 of their daughters, Mary and Rachel, would die in their 20s. The 1865 census showed the Sims had moved from Missouri to Bourbon County, Kansas, where they had started a farm. The next year, in 1866, Polly lost her husband, Zachariah. He was only 32 when he passed away, and I couldn't find any information about what happened or where he was buried. This left Polly a widow with 5 young children to raise, whose ages ranged from 10 to a 1-year-old. Polly would state she was a widow on all censuses after this, and I never found any record of her getting remarried, so I don't believe she did. 4 years after Zachariah had passed, I found Polly and her children on the 1870 census. They had moved from Kansas to Dade County, Missouri, and she listed her occupation as keeping house. 10 years later, she was in her 40s and she had moved to Douglas County, Missouri. She was living with her 3 youngest children, whose ages were 20 to 14, and she stated she was still a housekeeper. Polly must have owned or rented a farm since her only son, 18-year-old Siegel, stated he was working on the farm for a living. Her son eventually married and started his own family, and in Polly's later years, she moved in with them. Polly passed away on March 9, 1915, at the age of 78. Her death certificate showed she died in her home due to paralysis or paraplegia. Unknown is written underneath her cause of death, so I'm guessing they didn't really know why she had paralysis or what caused it. It also stated there was no doctor in attendance when this happened. Polly's family buried her in Tedrick Cemetery in Douglas County, Missouri. Polly is buried next to her son Siegel, but her stone is very close to an Otis Sims. When I cleaned their stones, I did wonder how Otis was related to her, and Otis is Polly's grandchild. His father was Siegel. When I went to recheck their stones, this beautiful flower was blooming between them. I also cleaned Otis's stone, and that video will be posted later. You can see in the photo that once again I had a case of the birth year on her stone is marked as 1833, but her death certificate and everything else listed her birth year as 1836. 1836 makes more sense since it closely matches her ages on the censuses I found her on. But I also know mistakes can be made on headstones and mistakes can be made on death certificates and the census, so I'm not sure which is right. Polly's stone has a fancy S carved at the top for Sims. My family tree showed that I'm not related to Polly, but my husband is related to her husband, Zachariah Sims. Zachariah is his 5th cousin, 6 times removed. I had permission to clean whatever headstones I wanted in this cemetery, so it didn't matter that I wasn't related to her. Thank you for watching. Rest in peace, Polly.